Secret of Mana. Saturdays are often reserved for Why It Matters, a look back at the history of gaming and certain events that impact it and why. Well, why it matters. But a game released that I was really looking forward to, and that was Secret of Mana HD Remastered, both for the PS4 and PC. Now, Secret of Mana is one of the greatest action RPG games ever released in the height of the RPG glory days of the 16-bit console wars. Secret of Mana stood alongside great games like Super Mario RPG, Chrono Trigger, Earthbound, and a similar game known as Secret of Evermore. Just slightly different though. I'm very interested into as of why, of all of the games aforementioned, especially Mario RPG, how Secret of Mana was the one that was remastered and remade of all of those great RPGs. Secret of Mana was never re-released or remade in the way that it has been now, and the question remains, is it worth playing? Or should you just play the original, or is the asking price too much for this remake? So, in today's review, we will be addressing all of those questions in regards to the remastery and the original Secret of Mana. The Secret of Mana is one key game that made me the gamer I am today. Some people play certain games, and it shapes what games they really grow into to enjoy. And Secret of Mana is a massive one for me. I even have a full picture of the Mana tree art framed next to my desk where I work daily. I love Secret of Mana that much. But is the remaster of this game worthy of your time? Will it sit among other remasteries as the better version of both of the games? Remasters, ports, they are very tricky things, and Secret of Mana falls in between a perfect remaster and a port. It's a very odd spot because it's not exactly a game that adds massive new features, but also allows people to play a game otherwise they would not be able to. Aside from other methods to play this game, I will be talking about those later, there is no real way to play Secret of Mana on Steam, other than this, and then the PS4 for that matter as well. So I will be looking at this with the 5 pillars of gaming in mind: graphics, gameplay, sound, story, and controls. What is the story of this remaster? Well, really it's just a copy and paste job of the original. There is a sword and a stone, and the sword seals away evil, and when a knight can pull the sword, it means a massive game will begin. Well, all jokes aside, it's basically a good versus evil story where the player does take on a number of massive bosses to restore a sword and save many people, save the world, and defeat the final boss with a new powered-up weapon. While the story itself is simple, it works, and it's the in-depth dialogue that pushes this game forward as it's an RPG. You're the hero. You're the one who's going to save this world, and it's all up to you. But the biggest and the most notable change would be the graphics. And while they are polarizing, I've seen the graphics from a lot of low-end budget indie games to crappy remasteries, and these are the same graphics. They're very terrible to me. I can't stand them. I think they look much worse than the original game in regard to how the game actually should look and is. Graphics play an important part in how you play the game. You stare at them. This is something you are going to have to deal with the entire time. So while I'm not really into graphics being a perfect thing in order to play the game, I also understand if they're not up to par, then it's difficult to tolerate them. And you really don't want to have to tolerate something in a game that is one of your favorites of all time, right? You're going to be playing this for a while. It's really difficult to tolerate something for around 18 to 20 hours, right? I can look past graphics. Just take a look at Undertale. A mostly black and white game, still images with little animation, yet an amazing hit. There are upsides to the graphics. The backgrounds still do look very, very nice. The setting of the game itself has the player travel through the game's worlds and shows massive variations in how the environments can look. But the characters and the bosses and even some objects like the Mana Sword, they just don't look nice to me. They don't look right. They look very, very poor and basic. But if the gameplay is good, then that's really all that matters. Add in some good music, sounds, and controls, and you got a really good game. So it doesn't really matter about graphics at the end of the day. So, is the gameplay on point? Well, yes and no. Secret of Mana hasn't changed in the gameplay department. I mean, really, it hasn't changed substantially outside the graphics alteration and the change in the music, which I will discuss later. But no, gameplay is almost a carbon copy and paste. If you never played Secret of Mana before, it is a game based on action RPG mechanics, but it is not turn-based whatsoever. So the world does not stop. Like in Earthbound and Chrono Trigger, when you encounter a battle, time stops. Time continues in the Secret of Mana as you play. So you can run up and attack an enemy and then run away, or you'll automatically dodge or use spells. And when you go to attack an enemy, there is a bar below that will charge, allowing you to do stronger attacks if you wait for the charge. Or you can do weak quick attacks if the enemy's real close to dying. You can finish them off without having to wait for that charge. It causes a lot of running in circles around enemies, then striking, then moving on, though it is a lot more fun than it actually sounds here. Gameplay includes an odd use of 3 players. Yes, this is a 3-player co-opable game, but it's a 20+ hour game if you take your time, so having 3 people play with you that long might be very difficult to, well, retain them the whole time. This is where the game gives the option for the AI to control the other players, which is not that great. It's not great, but it's not awful either. Times where the AI are off doing their thing will often happen. Sometimes the AI will get stuck, especially running past battles, but overall, it could be a lot worse. To counter this, you do have an option to change the AI settings and micromanage the AI, which I would greatly suggest you do if you plan on playing this all the way to the end. One of the most important aspects of gameplay, though, is being able to use multiple weapons. While ultimately the Sword of Mana might be your final weapon that you're going to use, you can swap out for a multitude of weapons that do different things. From a spear to an axe, you can upgrade these weapons, and you can make each one really strong, altering the playstyle as well. Being able to swap over weapon styles, characters, co-oping, these are the things that are going to bring you back to this game over and over again and motivate you and push you to the end. However, like the original game, there is a massive difficulty curve halfway through the game, which will probably turn off casuals. And there are enemies that will do very crappy things like put you to sleep, preventing you to be able to dodge and move away from attacks. That can be very frustrating. This also extends to how the player is hit. It's a dice roll system because there is an auto dodge. So you're not necessarily going to be dodging the hits yourself, it's just if you're lucky or not. You might lose several battles based on luck, but there's a new autosave system, so you can try again, which is very important for this game. But as long as the music is good and the game doesn't have awful sounds, then it can motivate people to move past these frustrating moments in the game. And this game has the original Secret of Mana soundtrack. For whatever reason, it's a nice inclusion, but because music is subjective, it's hard for me to express how you would like this. But it is light, bubbly, and uplifting. It's fitting every situation. Music gets tense when you fight bosses and do battles like that, and it's just fun and poppy and floaty. It's really nice music track to play game 2 without question. There's no questioning that. But the voice acting, that's not so good, which is an addition to this remaster because the original lacked and it substituted text instead, like basically almost every RPG of that time. Yet this remaster, it pulls a mighty number 9 and has the characters speaking without moving their mouths. It's very weird and it doesn't look natural nor good because they do have facial expressions. And like, okay, I get that, but it doesn't look good. Not here, not with these graphics, not at all. It's bad, it sounds bad, it looks bad, it throws me off completely. But at least the music is good. That's really important. Finally, does the game control well? And yes, this is an important part of the pillars of gaming as well. If you get lag or the game doesn't register inputs, it can ruin a game for sure. But once more, this game does control perfectly. The PS4 controller works well, but on the PC side of things, you can infinitely select what you need. With that, also note that on the PC side, you will likely be able to get mods later to do many things. From using a Super Nintendo controller to playing the original game through emulation, who knows what PC modders will end up doing to this, to fixing and patching any problems with the remaster if you do see any or have any. So what is the verdict? Well, simply put, this game costs $39.99 on Steam right now, and that's an incredibly pricey game. On eBay, you could purchase 4 or 5 games for the same price, and you could get games like The Witcher 3 on sale for half that price. So, would this game be worth $39.99? Well, no, not really. Not at all, actually. Paying the extra $40 would get you an SNES Classic, which has the original Secret of Mana on it. And again, the Secret of Mana Remastered is just a nice graphics facelift and different music, but essentially the same game. And yeah, that's pretty crazy to think just paying $40 extra would get you the Secret of Mana. That's $80, that's way more, but at the same time, you do get multiple games with the SNES Classic, and Nintendo has pledged that they will continue supporting the SNES Classic due to its great number of sales. And if you're a modder, you can mod more games onto the SNES Classic, making it an infinitely better buy instead of just one individual decent remaster. And if you do mess with the dark arts of emulation, you could emulate it for free if you had a computer, but I don't excuse piracy. So yeah, I have to note that it's an option that some people would do, not excusing it. I personally would like to have seen the remaster include the original game as an option, or at least just change the game to the original graphics, because as it stands, you're just paying $40 for new graphics and music, but the same game. I give this remaster a B grade. I was on the fence about actually giving it a C, but it's not horrible. There's little compelling anyone to get this game over the original, especially the asking price being asked to be so high. I mean, yeah, you could buy the original cartridge on eBay for $100 to $200, depending on where you got it. Maybe you could get it for a deal and it would be less. That would require an old SNES, but once again, you could also buy an SNES Classic that's already modded and hacked off of eBay, so there's the option there. Not excusing piracy once more, but again, it's an option that must be noted, because the asking price is so ridiculously high, $40 for this. So there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. I really appreciate you checking out this review. I have reviewed many other games, so if you're looking for something else to play, you can check into that. I have several playlists through the games throughout the last 7 years, and even before that as well. So if you liked this video, please leave me a big thumbs up. If you disliked it, please let me know what I can do better in the comments below. And I've been your host, Protomario, and I'm signing out. As always, good gaming, God bless, and thank you for watching this video.